Hello and welcome friends to another leather crafting tutorial. My name is David and in today's video we'll continue working with our family of products that a friend of mine requested a few days ago. Today we'll be working with a small leather handle for a mini board that is completely made out of grey leather. This project was very easy to design and relatively fast to craft since it's a small piece and only requires a few stitching and edge paintings. So I didn't mention in the previous video, but for the rest of the project of this series of products, I'll be using the Aquilim water-based glue I purchased a while ago and start reviewing the product along the way. Since it involves different sizes and leather pieces to form firmly, it's a good opportunity to test it and see how well or bad it behaves. So I'm gonna be doing the exact same things I normally do with my other glue, but using only the Aquilim water-based one. To begin with, as always, I needed to make a rapid template of the product I was going to craft, and since I wanted the template to be stiff, I went on and glued it to a thin piece of cardboard using this water-based glue, and immediately felt the difference between the Balco glue I normally use and this one. Since it's a water-based one, the paper felt damped and fragile, so to manage the piece I needed to be extremely careful when fixing it to the cardboard. I also felt I used way more glue for this process than I normally would with my other glue. Once the template was cut out, I did feel it bent considerably and didn't feel as stiff as I would like it to be, and you can tell the difference here comparing this template with another one I have. You can tell immediately how stiff the other template looks compared to the new one and how it keeps a better shape overall. But since we're just starting to use it, let's just move on with it. This handle design has two large circles that need to be cut out, so I started by cutting out the circles with a hole puncher, and since this was a smaller diameter than the one I needed, I had to pass the puncher several times around the circle until I reached the desired measurement. It was very hard to get my scissors or knife through this line without damaging the rest of the template, so punching the holes was the option I went for. And after a few punches, this lovely thing came out. Once the template was ready, it was time to glue the leather pieces together. This small gadget is made only of one piece of leather, so I went on and once again used the water-based glue and poured a small amount on both pieces and used a plastic card to spread the glue evenly. Now for small pieces, this method was truly comfortable. You only need a small amount of glue, you don't make a huge mess on your workbench, and you don't get all dirty on your hands. So this was actually a plus for that glue, at least on smaller pieces. Once the pieces were glued together, I went on and used the template to mark the sides and holes of the piece, and then used the hole puncher once again to go through the holes of the leather, and with my X-Acto knife and cutting ruler removed any excess of leather on the piece. Since the template was relatively stiff, I could use it to round the edges of the top part of the leather piece. Then it was time to paint the first edges of the gadget, which were the ones that bend through the mini board. Doing this right now makes the painting on the entire piece easier, since you don't have to be careful on painting or damaging the product later on. And after letting the acrylic paint dry, I just needed to polish it using some Tokonoli varnishing gum and a small piece of canvas before sanding the inner circles and painting them likewise. Now for this piece I didn't really use any base coat, as with the small utility pouch. The acrylic paint seemed to do a good job by itself. In the previous video of this series I explained that due to the limited time that we had to finish this project, we needed to use what was available, and ordering the edge paint and waiting for it to arrive was not an option in this case, which is why I'm using the Angelus paint. This isn't something I would normally use for painting an edge, but it was what I had at the time. So the next thing to do is to make the stitching holes and stitch the circles of the handle. To do this, I use an edge creaser to mark a 4mm distance between the edge of the circles and the stitching holes, and then use a 2-pronged diamond chisel to punch each individual hole before going on with the linen thread from filo Chinois and stitching the entire perimeter of both circles. We can see that the handle is close to finish. At this point we only need to stitch the edges together and paint and polish them with the acrylic paint and burnishing gum. So first we need to make the stitching holes on the front side of the handle and then install the handle, glue both sides together and make the stitching holes once again. And once again it was time to use the water-based glue, and this time it didn't hold as strong by itself as I would like it. I ended up using some office clamps to keep both sides together while the glue was drying, and after a while could continue with the stitching holes once again and stitch both parts together. Now since the leather was very soft, stitching it by hand made it slightly irregular, so I went on and used a leather hammer to flatten the leather once again, and after sanding the edge of the handle we could paint and polish it, and we're practically done. Now since I didn't use the base coat for this piece, the paint did feel slightly rough, and to soften it slightly before applying the Tokonole gum, I used a wooden edge liquor that at first doesn't seem to do much, but if you make a before and after comparison, it does help the edge become slightly smoother before applying the burnishing gum. And after checking that the handle moved freely, we're done with our project. So friends, thank you so much for watching and staying all the way throughout this process. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're into leather crafting projects, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. We also cover leather product reviews, do-it-yourself crafts, and many more fun projects. Again friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.